Welcome back, tribe. Today's episode is focused on like the midlife crisis. We were covering one on the main channel, which was a guy pretty much talking about how he'd been through years of the grind, years and years waking up doing the same thing over and over again until honestly, you find out like, hey, 10, 20 years have passed. Who am I? What's happening with my life? You know, the quiet desperation that so many guys are living under. And I just wanted to spell it out for you. You know, as you get older, I'm in my mid 30s now, 35, and the conversation actually changes, believe it or not. As you get older, it's not the same when you're in your 20s, you know? Death hits different when you're pushing 40. Not the abstract concept you brushed off in your 20s, but the cold reality that slaps you across the face when you're standing at your parents' funeral or, you know, when the first health scare knocks on your door. Suddenly you're staring at your ceiling and it's 3 a.m. You're calculating how many summers you got left, wondering why your back hurts from just sleeping wrong. And then you realize somehow 2 decades of your adult life vanished while you're busy being everything to everyone except yourself, you know, and this isn't just about buying a Porsche or chasing some 25-year-old Instagram model. You know, those are the sitcom versions. The reality cuts deeper, dude. When you wake up one morning and you realize you spent your entire fucking life being the good son, the reliable employee, the stable husband, and the present father. You're checking every box society handed to you, played every role assigned to you, and somewhere along the way, you lost the script to your own story. You did everything right. Straight A's in school because mom and dad expected it. Practical degree because that's what responsible people do. The safe career path. And you got the marriage, the mortgage, the minivan. You got the whole template for the successful life. You became the guy everyone relies on. The one who shows up early, the one who stays late, the one who coaches the little league weekends and still makes it to every recital. You're the responsible one, the dependable one, the fucking adult in the room. Then one day you're sitting in traffic, the same route you've driven for 15 years, and it hits you. When was the last time you did something because you wanted to? Not because it was expected, not because it was responsible, but because it lit a fire in your soul. You can't remember. That's when the panic sets in. Not the heart racing, sweat dripping kind, the quiet kind that sits in your chest like a stone and it whispers that you've spent decades building a life that looks perfect on paper, but it feels empty in practice. Society calls this the midlife crisis, like it's some temporary malfunction, a glitch in the matrix that'll sort itself out if you just keep grinding. But this isn't a crisis. It's an awakening. It's a brutal recognition that you've been running a marathon with no finish line. You're collecting these trophies that mean nothing to you. Living a life designed by a committee. You start to notice it in other men too. The distant look in their eyes during the meetings, the way they linger a bit too long in their car after work, how they talk about their teenager's college fund while their hands are gripping that beer super tight. They're all feeling it, man. This slow burning realization that they've mastered the art of delayed gratification so completely that gratification isn't even on the menu anymore. It's like you're playing a video game, grinding through levels, accumulating achievements, only to realize that you never actually enjoyed playing. You got really good at it, like really fucking good. So good that everyone expects you to keep playing, to keep leveling up, to keep achieving, and now you're too invested, too deep in the game to just walk away. You got the high scores to maintain, NPCs depending on you, a whole universe of expectations you built around the guy who never fails. Your own needs? They got filed away in a folder labeled someday, but buried under mortgage payments, college savings plans, and an endless list of responsibilities that comes with being the guy everyone counts on. You've become so practiced at putting yourself last that it feels like second nature. No, in reality, it feels like your only nature. Because the real trap isn't the crisis itself. It's the decades of conditioning that made it inevitable. From the moment you were old enough to understand responsibility, you've been trained to measure your worth by how well you serve others. Every time you swallowed your own desires for the greater good, you weren't being noble, you were digging a hole deeper, adding another brick to the wall between who you are and who you want to be. When it finally breaks loose, it looks ridiculous from the outside. Middle-aged dude suddenly dressing like he's going to Coachella getting tribal tattoos, or dropping half his savings on a car that screams, "I'm still young." Everyone points and laughs, shares memes about men and their midlife crisis like it's some cosmic joke. But they're missing the fucking point entirely. You know why these crises look so goddamn immature? Because that's exactly what they are. Decades of suppressed desires exploding out like a champagne bottle that's been shaking for 20 years. When you've spent your entire adult life being mature, responsible, and measured, you don't suddenly develop new wants. You revert to the last time you actually allowed yourself to want anything freely. For most guys, that's somewhere around age 15. Think about it. That sports car you're eyeing, it's probably the same poster you had on your wall in high school. The sudden urge to learn guitar, it's not about becoming the next Eddie Van Halen. It's about reconnecting with the version of yourself that believed anything was possible. The younger woman showing you attention, she makes you feel like the varsity athlete you were before responsibility became your middle name. Most guys hit pause on their personal development the moment they step into their provider role. It's like hitting pause on a movie when you press play again 20 years later. The story picks up exactly where you let off. That's why you see 45-year-old executives suddenly talking like teenagers on social media, dressing like they're about to drop a mixtape, or making decisions that seem completely divorced from their decades of accumulated wisdom. You've probably seen the guy at the gym, the one who ignored his health for 20 years while building his business, and now he's trying to transform into Chris Hemsworth overnight. Or maybe it's your buddy who spent decades in a loveless marriage, or the kids, and now he's on every dating app trying to compress 20 years of missed experience into 6 months. It would be so funny if that shit wasn't so fucking tragic. Society loves to judge these guys. They call them immature, tell them to act their age. But what does acting your age even mean when you've never got to act your other ages? When you jump straight from taking orders from your parents to taking orders from your boss to taking orders from your family's expectations. When did you ever get to just be you? You see, the real problem isn't the crisis. It's that we treat normal human desires like some kind of character flaw. Like wanting things for yourself is somehow shameful, bro. We've created this bizarre paradox where men are supposed to be ambitious and driven, but only in ways that benefit everyone else. Want to work 80-hour weeks building a business? You're a provider. Want to spend a few hours a week learning to surf? You're being selfish. This whole system is designed to extract maximum value from men while giving minimum consideration to their actual needs. It's like running a high-performance car without ever changing the oil. Eventually, something's going to break. And when it does, it's not going to be a gentle degradation. It's going to be a spectacular fucking blowout. That's why you see guys walking away from 20-year careers to open beach bars in Thailand and shit, or leaving seemingly perfect marriages to live in studio apartments. From the outside, it looks like they've lost their minds. In reality, they're desperately trying to find them again, trying to excavate their authentic selves from under 2 decades of should and must and have to. The pattern's always the same. Decades of saying yes to everyone else means you've gotten really good at saying no to yourself. You built this reputation as the reliable one, the rock, the foundation everyone gets to build their dreams on. And foundations don't get to move, they don't get to change, they don't even get to want, until one day they crack. See, that crack usually starts small. Maybe you find yourself sitting in your perfectly organized garage, surrounded by all the toys you bought to convince yourself you still know how to have fun. You're looking at your mountain bike that's never seen a mountain, your fishing gear that's never touched water, your project car that's become just another item in your endless to-do list, and you realize you've become a curator of potential experiences rather than a liver of actual ones. Delayed gratification is supposed to be a virtue, right? That's what every guru on YouTube keeps preaching. Work hard now, enjoy later. Sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. Stack paper, level up, grind until you make it. It's solid advice until you realize later keeps getting pushed back like a deadline you'll never meet. You become the guy who's always saying, after this project, once the kids are in college, when things settle down. Meanwhile, life's moving at light speed, dude. Those passion projects collect dust. Those dreams get filed under maybe someday. And that bucket list becomes more like a fuck it list. You're living like tomorrow has unlimited inventory, but you're shopping with expired credit. Like being a designated driver every single time. Sure, you're being responsible, keeping everyone safe, doing the right thing. But after 20 years of watching everyone also enjoy the party while you stay sober, you start wondering if you'll ever get time to cut loose. Spoiler alert, nobody's lining up to take your shift. This isn't some philosophical debate about work-life balance. This is about the raw mathematics of time and energy. You've got a finite amount of both, but society's got an infinite list of demands. Your boss wants more hours, your wife wants more attention, your kids want more involvement, your parents want more visits, your community wants more volunteering. Nobody's asking what you want because you stopped asking that question yourself a long time ago. You mastered the art of Excel spreadsheet life. Everything's scheduled, budgeted, planned. You can calculate compound interest in your sleep, but you forgot how to compound your joy. Your retirement account is growing fat, while your soul's been on a steady diet of maybe next time. Remember the scene in Fight Club where Tyler Durden's talking about how we buy the shit we don't need with money we don't have to impress the people we don't like? That's amateur hour compared to what responsible men do. We sacrifice who we are for roles we didn't choose to meet expectations we didn't set to live for lives we don't actually want. The real mindfuck, you get rewarded for this behavior. Every time you put yourself last, society pats you on the back. Such a good provider. What a dedicated father, employee of the month. They're giving you gold stars for slowly erasing yourself. And like a good boy, you keep chasing the stars right into your own personal black hole, man. You know that thing about putting your own oxygen mask on before helping others? Yeah, nobody's teaching men how to do that. Instead, we taught that needing oxygen at all is some kind of moral failure. Real men don't need to breathe, apparently. Real men just give and give and give until there's nothing left to give. Then find a way to give some more. You see, being selfish isn't the enemy. It's the antidote. Not the destructive kind that ruins lives, but the healthy kind that preserves them. The kind that says, I matter too. The kind that understands putting yourself first sometimes isn't just okay, it's actually necessary for survival. But try explaining that to anyone who's been benefiting from your sacrifice. They'll look at you like you just announced you're quitting your job to become a professional Pokemon trainer. Think about how we treat athletes. Even the most hardcore pros take rest days, have recovery periods, cycle between intensity and recovery, but somehow men are supposed to run their lives like perpetual ultra marathons. No breaks, no recovery, no off season, just constant performance at peak levels across every domain in life. The human mind isn't built for infinite delay of satisfaction. That's not some profound psychological insight. It's just basic fucking biology, man. You can't keep writing checks against your future happiness, assuming there'll always be time to cash them. Time is one resource you can't earn back. You can't refinance and you can't restructure. The woman in your life or women won't understand this transformation. How could they? They've been operating in a world that encourages self-care, that normalizes putting yourself first sometimes, that doesn't demonize having needs. While you've been playing Atlas, holding up everyone's world, while they've been told it's okay to have boundaries, to take mental days, to prioritize their happiness. Your wife might have fallen in love with your strength, your reliability, your unwavering dedication to providing. Now she's watching you question everything, pushing back against expectations, trying to reclaim pieces of yourself you gave away years ago. From her perspective, you're dismantling the very things that made her choose you. It's like buying a house for the solid foundation, then watching the foundation decide it wants to try being a roof. Nobody tells you this part. When you start changing the rules of the game, everybody who was winning under the old rules is going to resist. Your boss isn't going to celebrate when you stop answering emails at midnight. Your kids aren't going to cheer when you start taking time for yourself instead of being at their beck and call. Your friends might act weird when you start talking about genuine feelings instead of just sports and weather, bro. It's like being that dude who starts eating healthy while his friends are still crushing pizza and beer every weekend. They're not mad at your choices. They're just uncomfortable because your changes are making them question their own lives. When you stop playing by the constant rules of constant sacrifice, you become a mirror that reflects everyone else's compromises right back at them. The solution isn't some dramatic fuck it all moment where you torch your life and start over. That's just another form of running away. The real answer is learning to be selfish in small, sustainable ways before life forces you to be selfish in big, destructive ones. It's like working out. You don't wait until you're completely out of shape to start moving. Unfortunately, most guys do. And that's why most transformations fail. You have to start small. Take that lunch break instead of eating at your desk. Say no to weekend work projects. Book the hobby class you've been putting off. Buy those concert tickets instead of putting money in your kids' already bloated college fund. Fix the fucking project car. Go for a hike. Go in nature. Take time off. Ride your motorcycle. Small acts of selfishness are like supplements for your soul. Take them regularly and you'll avoid the nuclear option later. Your transformation isn't going to look like a movie montage. It's going to be awkward, messy, and sometimes, painful. You'll feel guilty for taking time for yourself. You'll question whether you're being selfish enough or too selfish. You'll battle decades of programming that equates self-care with self-indulgence. This isn't about becoming a self-absorbed asshole who only cares about his own needs. It's about finding the sweet spot between the martyrdom and the narcissism. Understanding that being a good man doesn't mean being a sacrifice machine. That taking care of yourself isn't just another item on your to-do list. It's the foundation that makes everything else possible. You spent years, dude, being the guy who makes things happen for everyone else. The one who shows up, who follows through, who handles his business. Now it's time to apply that same dedication to your own life, to treat your happiness with the same seriousness you treat your other responsibilities, to be reliable to yourself as you've been to everyone else, period. Some people in your life won't get it. That's fine. They'll call it selfish, call it a phase, try to shame you back to your old patterns. Remember this. Nobody who benefits from your sacrifice is qualified to judge your liberation from it. The same people who will criticize you for buying the motorcycle won't think twice about asking you to co-sign their loan. The midlife crisis isn't a disease. It's just a symptom. The disease is a lifetime of suppressing your own desires and your own identity in service of external expectations. The cure isn't a sports car or a younger girlfriend or a radical career change. The cure is learning to value yourself as much as you value everyone else's opinion of you. You don't need permission to want more from life than just being useful to others. You don't need to justify taking space in your own existence. You don't need to explain why you're finally choosing to be the main character in your own story. The path forward isn't about blowing up your life. It's about reclaiming it piece by piece, day by day. Understanding that being selfish isn't just an option, it's like a necessity. Just like they tell you on airplanes, secure your own oxygen first. Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you won't be able to help anyone else anyway. It's time to start breathing again. And that's the message I want to leave, men, at the end of this video. Hopefully it resonates with a bunch of you. I think too many of us are being caught in this trap, not realizing that if you don't put yourself first, you're going to end up regretting it and it will end up destroying everything you've ever built. The foundation starts with you, and you must maintain that at all costs. Anyways, appreciate you guys for tuning in as usual. Shout outs to everybody in the private community, everybody who's been doing the private consults, and we'll see you guys on the calls as we usually do every single week. If you want to see more episodes like this, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care of yourself, boys.